member for the NDC has joined us, and we'll get into some of the big stories of the day. Good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Yourself?
I'm very well too. Thank you for making time to join us. Today, the big stories. GES has released the school placements for over 483,000 candidates who sat for the BCE, and they've been placed in senior high and technical as well as vocational institutions across the country. But more details have emerged on the placements, and we'll be getting some official feedback from those persons so we can get some more details for you. TEU has declared a strike, which it says will be indefinite starting today, September 19. We'll get some more details for you on that as well. Worrying details from the Kolebu Teaching Hospital about non-communicable diseases which are on the rise and are increasingly becoming the most significant causes of deaths at hospitals. We'll get some insights for you as well. I see that Matiti has joined our conversation. Titi, good morning to you.
Hi, Titi, good morning.
Expert.
In which one? Just commentary on the news that we cover.
Else. Commentary on the news. So let's start with what's on everybody's mind this morning. The GES is saying that some, nearly 484,000, so 483,800 candidates have been placed. But it is those who have not been placed that we are concerned about. And let's hear what the Deputy Minister for Education, Dr. Clement Apak, said when he announced the placement and the information from the Education Ministry. Let's hear him.
I am pleased to announce that 483,800 candidates, representing 82%, have been successfully placed. Of this figure, 248,038 students are female, constituting 51.4%, and 234,783 are males, constituting 48.6%. However, 107,509 candidates, making up 18.2%, could not be matched with their initial choices due to the high demand for Category A schools. To address this, the self-placement portal has been activated and is currently live. All qualified candidates who were not automatically placed are encouraged to log onto the system and to select from the schools with available vacancies. This year, as part of the free senior high school program, we are piloting 70 private senior high schools. In order to reduce the stress on parents and guardians, resolution centers have been set up at the district, regional, and national levels. Placement is free. Again, placement is free. The Ministry of Education and the Minister cautions all parents and guardians against paying money to any individual, be it a ministry official or a third party, for placement.
Deputy Minister Dr. Clement Apak speaking there at that press conference. So once again, it's that time of the year where parents are going up and down, ladies, trying to find solutions, especially for those who have not been placed, trying to find ways of getting their wards into school. Let me take your initial thoughts, Awo, on what we've done so far with the school placement. Of course, it's early days yet. It's only the day after the release of those, schools to candidates, and it doesn't seem like there's too much happening at this time, but a lot could happen. The portal itself was down for a while, and parents had to try. Some people only go through after midnight of this morning, I'm told. And so do you anticipate this, do you anticipate there being a challenge this time around? Perhaps that's my initial question to you.
All right, good morning to Matiti, who is my co-panelist, yourself and viewers. And for the good work the minister, the ministry, GS itself is doing. I have a worry this thing before I come to this main placement thing. You know, students were made to write, I don't know how to call it, whether we know we have NOVDEC, but this year they told us that students were going to write January, February, one of those remedial things so that they can join their colleagues who are going to the university early. And up until now, the results are not in. We're wondering, because me and my ward wrote one, and that thing was a nightmare for some of us. We didn't sleep because the time was short. When we got to know, and you know, kids, they want to join their friends in school, and they wrote. And since February, they were done in February. So
perhaps
now,
if we get through to the Deputy Director of Public Affairs of WAEC,
yeah,
you will have the opportunity, since you're here, to ask him the question yourself. We'll be trying to get Mr. John Kapi on the line to answer to some of these questions and concerns. But yes, so
we don't have the
results
out, and we know they've written WASI. Some of them are even done already, and by next week, next month, I'm sure they will all be done. And if that one is coming to add up, the kind of promise, I don't know what, because they've just gone silent on that one. We've not heard anything from them up until now. So if there's anything, we want to hear that. With the placements, I have 3 children close to me. I don't like using the word kids. So, and yesterday it was a kind of down. I don't know if my sisters have been able to do it, because at a point I gave up because I had other engagements and assignments to attend to. So this morning I just hope that maybe they've been able to assess it, to know if they've been placed or not. And I'm happy the minister or the deputy minister stressed on free placement. Free placements, because we know and we have heard, we've seen what has gone on with some of these things. Because of that, they will withhold your placements and all that. The hell parents have to go through. This time around, we are not going to take it sitting down. If we see that anything untoward is going on, people's head will roll, and some of us will not, because I have 3 kids, and if I have to be running around for all of them, and you know, everybody was like, you did it for your children, so this one we are leaving it for you. You are in government, so and they did well.
Okay,
they did well. So it's not
so
a
wherever
case
the
of
computer takes them, they will
did
go.
well. Yes, but at least from what they got is their first choice. So if they do any kululu taking them, if someone has 7 ones, 8 ones, and 9 ones, and you want to take them to second choice, then it means there's something wrong. I remember
my second means boy, that perhaps demand and maybe others performed better. And we'll put those questions to Mr. Kapi. Some people think
my second boy did so well, and they had to take him to the 4th choice square day school.
Because
and it was,
Deputy Minister said, as always, every year there's oversubscription to grade A schools.
That one is
so
true.
there will always be more
but your
pressure.
grades should also show. Unfortunately, when I took the grades to the school we chose the first, they were like, he chose here, he did well, so what happened? So it's not their fault. And it was like, it's the computer.
The
but
computer.
You see, then, and that's what I'm trying to say. So people will want you to, you know, your ward did well, or your child did so well, and they have to put the child, they'll just decide to go and put the child somewhere so that you go through all this stress.
No, they don't decide to put the child somewhere.
They did.
Because they give you options. There's a whole process. Perhaps we'll talk about how you're allowed to select the
children go through. So I know what it was like. They did. It was an intentional thing. They know the child did well. And you see that they'll go and put maybe a second child. As for the first child, they'll hold on. Put someone who did not do too well. maybe in a second choice school. But someone who did very well, fourth choice, and you are like day school, not even something close to what you chose. And you are like, what happened?
No,
just
fourth
because
choice, you chose it. I just want to clap because we are also educating people.
It wasn't even close to what we chose. That's what I'm saying.
They gave you a school that was not on the list of schools that you chose.
But we did not choose it.
You didn't choose that school?
Yes. Even if it was a fourth choice school, we did not choose it.
If you say fourth choice, it means you chose it too.
What I mean, we did not, you know, they have category. We have the first choice. We had
There's category A,
B, C, D. And
there was a category D school.
Yes.
Okay.
I call it fourth choice because at time that was it. So that's what readily comes to mind. And, you know, it was just an intentional thing for parents to come and pay. And parents were desperate to pay because your child did well, and you don't want to see the child at home. And you know how it is like, what did you get? Hey, I got this school, I'm going. And maybe your child is at home. For me, I went to one of the days, I had to go and fire. And I didn't know they gave me the choice of school I wanted. Yes, I fired. And I told them, if you don't do, I have all your faces.
So it's not the computer.
It's human beings behind the computer doing some of these things. So I told them, I have your pictures. If you misbehave, I'm going on air the following day. I will put all of you there. Unfortunately for them, somebody who knew me is like, hey, you will be in trouble by the next day. Then they say, okay, madam, do this, we'll do it for you. And following day, my daughter went to school. So some of these things, I'm happy that the minister stressed on it. So if this is my government in power, if you try it, we will come there, we catch you ourselves, to take you out of those offices. Because you are not there to play those games. You are being paid at the end of every month. As workers there, as you are employed, whatever thing you are there to do, you know how much you are supposed to. This is not cocoa season for people, because parents are going through hell sometimes to make sure that even to get the trunks and other accessories for their kids to be in school. So we don't want some of these things. Those things that happen and we spoke against, this time around we are going to open our crow. Some of us have 4 eyes, and we'll make sure all those 4 eyes are working. Every aspect of it. So that parents will not come back. Something we spoke about, we go through the same thing.
Okay, so
if your word doesn't get a placement, I know you have the self-placement to do it. Let's see how best we can all do it.
So let's remind our viewers of how we got here and the guidelines so that the GES released before the BCE to ensure that the candidates were guided in their selection of schools. So they were given a school selection form, which is now digital, and it has instructions. Parents and guardians were encouraged to come to the schools and participate in the selection process, and also to avoid mistakes, because some people do not go through the standard, responses correctly, and they end up choosing other schools that perhaps they may not have. And sometimes people, Matiti will explain, people choose the different categories of schools that they are not supposed to. So there's always the category A schools, which are, the so-called top elite schools in the country, highly competitive. You need to be, to dot all your I's and cross your T's to get in there. So the grades must be really good. So they are very highly sought after. Category B, they are well-resourced schools, but they are not considered as top tier as the category A schools. Category C are so-called less endowed schools, and so there are more slots available usually for these categories of schools. Category D are day schools, and these are compulsory ones that candidates needed to pick. And so it must, the guideline is that it must be a place that is close to where you live. So usually the school that is closest to you would fall into category D for you. The TVET institutions were also represented on this, and students were allowed to select up to 6 schools. At least one of the schools must be TVET, and it must be included in the selection. And at least one day school, category D, must also be chosen, so that if all the top 3, you don't get placement in those top 3, then you can fall on the D. And, they have their own way of getting the scores and the aggregates together. But Titi, do you think that this helped, the guidelines that were issued? Because now we are seeing the 483,000 who were successfully placed. over 107 now have to go and do self-placement. And we'll get John Appick on the phone, John Cappy, so we see exactly what would go into self-placement and what parents now need to do. Titi?
You see, I think that the guidelines are there, but fundamentally on the ground, the numbers, the ratio does not match. So there are more students doing well who want category A schools, which are well-resourced. You've mentioned category B schools are also a bit resourced, but definitely there's a difference between category A schools and category. How about we work to eliminate category D schools so that category A, maybe A1 and A2, upgrade category B schools to join category A schools and have category C, so that more, if we're training out more students with good results, amidst all this brouhaha on cheating in exams hall and all of that, she's frustrated that her child will do well and at the end will be placed in a category C school with less infrastructure, less quality education and all of that. You don't know what the future of your child will become, whether the child will be as motivated to be the best that they can be because they are good, their results are good. And so I think that foundationally, that is the challenge. Awo, being in government, I'm sure, going to scream at the people and all of that, she knows very well the challenges that the educational system has, infrastructure-wise, quality of teachers. TEWU is going on strike. Teacher unions, monies for teacher training colleges, and double tracking system, accommodation, and all of that. Your child is good, they've passed, you want them to go to school, and you have all of the the recommendations that you want. You want them to be in a boarding school. They should be in a category A school. And they should be in a boarding school on top. They should have state-of-the-art facility. The child deserves it because they have been able to prove that they can compete in such a school. And your child is not put in that school. So for me, I think that's just re-echoing what education stalwarts or educationists have been talking about our education system. Because, yes, who doesn't want to go to Wesley Girls, St. Louis, Accra Girls, all of the great category A schools. But then who else should go to the category D schools then, where there's more space, but there's not as much as you would be comfortable with to be able to finish your schooling and then go to the tertiary. The tertiary education unit is so I think that's bridging that gap between the quality of schooling systems that we have would really go a long way to help and give better choices to parents and the students that your child, you'll be comfortable that your child goes to a category B school or a category A1, A2 school than be frustrated that your child, and if the child is good already, I mean, sometimes they better perform in, even if it's not a category A or B school, than somebody who is struggling and is in a category D school. I don't know how that's going to, because there's already less infrastructure, quality of teaching and all of that. So how does that better enhance that child's education, their, thinking and everything? So I think that there's that disconnect that we have to tell ourselves the truth. Is the reality on the ground that's, causing all of this? We cannot say, and this is a nation that has been campaigning for, compulsory basic education, send your girl child to school, send your wards to school and all. So what happens to the numbers? It's almost like the employment system. Go to school. That's what they tell you. Get that paper, get that certificate, get that degree, and then you finish and then there are no jobs. So you decide that galamsey is better than, sitting at home. So I think that when we put all of these things in perspective and tell ourselves the truth, I'm sure you will talk about TEWU.
Yes, I will indeed talk about TEWU. Perhaps we'll stop over in Korle Bu very quickly to address some pressing matters there. But the critical questions that we must ask of this BEC placement system, we've always asked, is the system itself fair? Because we have students, pupils, ladies, we have pupils who study in better endowed schools, in better resourced communities and neighborhoods, who are writing the same exams as somebody in MA school. I hope there's no school
called that
with that name. So I'm just trying to come up with something that I've not heard. Okay, so that nobody will feel bad. But they are writing the same exams as those who are, being candidated from heaven JHS. Okay, so Jesus, God is their headmaster, like Christ is their science lecturer. And so they undoubtedly have better access, the opportunity for them to excel are better. So whether or not they are fair, and let's also not forget that there's also priority placements that will be made. Schools are given a small quota, but still a quota which they also give to their shareholders, their communities to offer people for those slots. So there is always that about 10-ish% that will not be placed by computer, that will be placed through some of these sources. And the exciting thing, the free SHS, 70 private schools have been added to this list, and they are also going to be offering free education to persons. So there's a lot of questions that we want answered in that space. And I had hoped that we'll be able to get Mr. John Kapi on the line to answer some of those questions for us. Are we balancing SHS and TVET placements proportionately? Because we want to move into a new era of work where people have more technical and vocational skills than and less of the grammar knowledge. And yet we still see more placements being made because they are the schools that are more available in grammar schools than TVET schools. Yeah. So all those questions perhaps need to be addressed. And so, Titi, your thing about making sure that we upgrade the schools, heavy capital intensive suggestion there, but we'll get to it. Let's go to our phone lines. We heard from the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital about an exodus of ICU nurses. Intensive care nurses are leaving the country in the droves, and even though the disease burden is rising, the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital is saying that the pressing challenge facing the facility, especially at the neurosurgery department, is that an average of 50 intensive care nurses resign every month. Every month, 50 ICU nurses quit their job. And on the phone lines, we've been joined by Dr. Frank Owusu-Setre. He is the Director of Medical Affairs at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, and he'll be sharing some thoughts with us. Doc, good morning to you. Thank you for making time to join us. This is, would you say, an alarming situation if 50 ICU nurses are resigning?
Good morning to your listeners, and thanks for having me. I think the numbers may be a bit of an aberration.
Aberration?
No, a bit of an aberration. I think it's not up to 50 every month.
Okay.
I think we said about 15 every month, so
okay.
Maybe it got captured as 50. But be that as it may, these are highly trained caliber of staff that we have. And if they are leaving, even if one is leaving in a month, that is a source of worry because the sort of services that they render is very specialized. And it's not something that with all due respect you go to the market and grab any nurse and say, come and do that particular kind of job. So it is a worry, and it is something that we all need to maybe put our thinking caps on and see how best we can stem that tide. This became very rife after COVID, when we had a lot of ICU staff and even general nursing and medical staff, some resigning, a lot of them also died from the pandemic in the Western world. And so it created a gap, a vacuum, and that made it very easy for our staff who are highly trained, highly skilled, and highly qualified to be plugged out of here, to plug into their system, to store up the shortage that they have. And so it is a worry, and it is something that we need to open the discussion as to how best we could stem that tide.
What kind of services do ICU nurses provide? Obviously, they work in the intensive care unit, but you talked about the critical role that they play within that space. What do they do?
So they nurse patients, and these are patients that are very sick. They are patients that, if you don't pay particular attention to the minutest of changes, you probably will lose this. And being able to identify those just don't come by. It comes with years of experience and training. And so if these people are leaving, then there's a problem. So the ICU nurses are not like the general nurses that you go and you take your temperature and BP and then that's it, or give medication, that's it. They are an integral part. In fact, the whole of ICU runs on the availability of nurses because they are there 24 hours. The doctors will come in, make their input, but the ones going to implement the input and changes that have been made are the nurses, and they must know exactly what they are doing. And so if they are leaving, it's a problem.
What steps are you taking as a facility to stall, if not stop, the exodus of these nurses? What have you found to be the reasons for the attrition?
The reasons are multifactorial, largely based on economic status, as well as maybe job environment and then job satisfaction. So, like I said, we are trying to train more, but it will be like pouring water into a basket. If as soon as you train, they leave, because they are hotcakes out there. And so they come out, they get the experience, people come dangling some huge amount that we probably could never match, and so they leave. But what we can do, or what we've been doing as an institution, is to encourage more people to go into training. We have tried to retool the ICUs to make sure that at least the job satisfaction in terms of the milieu, the environmental aspect of their practice is also enhanced, so that, I mean, when people are satisfied with what they do, not that many of them will want to leave unless they are other compelling reasons. I mean, like, I sit here, I'm working in Ghana, and that's not because I didn't have the opportunity to be out there. I was, and then I decided to come, not because of anything, but because I wanted to give my part to the national cake. And I believe a lot more are like that, just that sometimes the pull factors are too strong for them to be able to resist.
But you had the option, Doc, and it was possible at the time that you made the decision for you to make that choice to come back home. But when you're talking about measures to improve the retention of health professionals, I hear you say that you're encouraging more people to train to be ICU nurses. But as a hospital yourself, you say you're working on improving the environment within the hospital, within the ICU specifically, to make it more conducive to the nurses who work there, for the nurses who work there. What exactly are those kind of steps that you're taking to make the work environment better for them to be more inclined to stay beyond the monetary reward elsewhere?
Yes, so they need monitors. They need things to work with. And it is very difficult knowing what to do to save somebody, and if you don't have the equipment, chances are they're going to lose that person, and the effect is debilitating, especially on the ICU workers. So what we have tried is to make sure that the things that they need, the monitors, the suckers, and then the machines, the ventilators that they need, we have provided them, and with the hope that once they are satisfied with what they do, they will stay. But again, I mentioned that we are training a lot more. It takes a long time for you to be able to train a general nurse to a critical care nurse. It takes about 3 to 4 years. And so what we have
these are specialist nurses. These are specialist
nurses. Yes, they are
nurses.
specialized nurses, yes. It's not any nurse who has come out of school that can just go and work in the ICU. You need to know what you're about. I mean, things are changing. You need to be able to identify the change in order to put in the corrective measures. And that comes with years of experience and training. And that is the reason why we have put the spotlight on encouraging more people to go into training as ICU workers. But the situation remains that the pull factors out there is still very strong. I mean, there is no way we can match UK, US in terms of the economic aspects. We can't pay them the way they do. And so as people look at what is in it for us? We are also trying to make the environment so convenient that people will look and say, I think I'm better off here. Of course, not only the economic aspect. If you go out there, the social aspect of life is also very important. And I think a lot more people given the chance will want to remain here. And so we're hoping that as we train more, a lot more will stay. And also to make the environment convenient, give them the things that they need to work.
Okay.
Which has been the focus of the hospital for some time now.
Perhaps I'll shelve that economic conversation for now, but let's talk about access. You're asking for more people to train. First of all, you need to train to be a nurse, to even qualify to train to be an ICU nurse. We are still operating in the space where the slots are limited to even become a general nurse or a general midwife. And what's the space for that specialist training available if you're calling for more people to develop the interest to go into that space? What's been done to make sure that there's more room to accommodate a lot more trainees?
Well, I think the situation is actually the reverse of what the picture that you painted. We have a lot more general nurses trained to the extent that we have a lot more staying at home as of now. But what the ministry is trying to do is to come out with what they call a planned migration, so that we can get some foreign exchange from the countries that are utilizing the services of these nurses, so that goes into further training of people. So in terms of the general nursing pool, I think we have a lot more. There are a lot more training centers that are opening up, training people, and I think the incentives for people to go into nursing is still out there, and so a lot more people are going in there. But coming out of nursing school and becoming an intensive care worker or critical care nurse is a different story. That you have to go through that rigorous training, and that is where, of course, you need time. It takes about 3 or 4 years for you to be able to do that. And when you come out, I mean, with all due respect, a critical care nurse that has come out of school just now cannot be compared to somebody who's worked there with the same qualification for about another 5, 10 years. The experience gathered on the job is immense. And those are the people living. So even as you train more to plug in the holes,
it will take years for
chances are that if you don't control
the
the migration, we're still going to have those challenges.
I mean, we could spend another few minutes on this matter, but the other matter coming from Korle Bu is the recording of more non-communicable diseases at Korle Bu than any other. Concerns that kidney diseases are on the rise, heart diseases are on the rise, hypertension-related diseases, cardio and stuff are all on the rise. What does it tell us about how we look after ourselves if non-communicable diseases, which are largely attributed to lifestyle choices, continue to dominate the number of cases being recorded at our teaching hospitals?
Yes, so I think as a country, we are moving from our exposure to infectious diseases, which are the communicable diseases. And I think largely we have been able to overcome that. I remember as a young medical officer, we had what we call the malaria season, where children came in with cerebral malaria and the rest. A lot more died, some were saved. But we don't see those anymore, which means that the concerted effort that we put in as a country, we have been able to largely put the communicable diseases under control. But as you do that, then the non-communicable diseases come up, because now people are going to live longer. And so age itself is a factor, and then also lifestyle modification. I mean, we now have exotic kind of meals around that people think if you're able to go to these fanciful joints to eat, then it means you've arrived. And so our lifestyle is gradually changing. To add to that is the fact that our primary healthcare prevention strategies haven't been optimum. I think it's quite recently that health insurance is now telling people that when you go to a hospital for an annual check is going to be covered. Before then, it became more reactive. When people realized that they had a problem, that's when they went to the hospital. So we are now trying to make sure we catch these non-communicable diseases early, and then we put the spotlight on the treatment and the rest. But Kolebu, as a tertiary bordering on continuing services, are poised to receive complicated cases. And I think I want to clarify that the numbers that we churn out there are not new cases that came in. I think I've seen some headlines where we are creating the impression that about 5,000 new diabetic cases have been recorded mid-year. That's not it. These are the number of people with the condition that have been seen. There may be multiple visits, and then there may be some also that came in fresh, but we haven't done the interrogation to see which are new cases and not. So that headline itself is a bit misleading.
Okay, so it's not 5,000 complicated diabetes referrals at Kolebu or over 2,000 kidney cases within the first half of 2025?
No. It is visits that we have seen. So if, let's say, somebody with kidney disease on dialysis comes to the hospital 4 times in a week, that is going to be counted as 4, but not necessarily 4 different people have come in. So we needed to interrogate that data. That wasn't, I think it's being quoted out of context.
Okay.
So really looking at the burden of the diseases, and a way to look at it is how the number of times people are coming with that, not necessarily the number of different people coming with it. Of course, if you have somebody with, say, diabetes who comes to the hospital once a year, and another person who comes every week, you are not going to put them on the same scale. So that is how come we use the number of visits instead of number of individuals. But I think the picture has been created out there that it is number of individuals. It's not. So that I want to clarify that.
So should we or should we not be worried then at the numbers that you're seeing, even if they are referrals and repeat visitors to the facilities? Should we be worried or shouldn't we?
Absolutely, we should put the spotlight on. Even if you have one person dying from non-communicable disease, that is one too many. So we need to be able to create the awareness. We need to be able to make facilities available to treat these people. I'm not downplaying it in terms of the severity or so, but it is the alarming and sensational nature in which the news has been carried. 5,000 new complicated cases within the first half. I mean, that is too sensational. So that is what I'm trying to, as it were, clarify. But that is not to say that we shouldn't put the spotlight on the discussion on the non-communicable disease. I think we still need to be able to discuss these issues, fashion the best way forward. And then I was excited when the Ghana Medical Trust Fund paid a visit. They wanted to see the exact state of affairs, and I think they saw it. And what we need to do to be able to improve this management, I think the discussion has started as to how well they can help in terms of some tools and some training that could be done. And I think that should have been maybe the focus of the discussion, but it looks as the sensationalism has taken over. So everybody is looking at new cases. It is really not new cases. They are just visits. The number of visits which have been captured and tabulated after 5,000 and the 2,000 that we saw.
It certainly, puts the matter a bit more at an ease so that there is no panic, but still, like you're saying, calls for persons to take those diseases very seriously because they're lifestyle related usually, and there is usually something that we can do about it. I'll give you the opportunity if you have any last comments, something you'd like to bring to our attention, then we'll hear it now before you leave us, Doc.
Yes, so as we talk about non-communicable disease, it is indeed rising. The people of Ghana are living longer now, and age itself is going to bring about these conditions. And that is how come I am excited that the discussion has started on how best to curb the menace of non-communicable diseases. And even more importantly, the processes or the policies that we are putting in place to be able to address these challenges. And I will encourage that everybody puts their shoulder to the wheel and make sure that we deal with the issues of non-communicable diseases.
Dr. Frank, thank you so much for the time you've spent with us this morning. The Director of Medical Affairs at Korle Bu Teaching Hospital here in Accra, Dr. Frank Owusu-Setro, is speaking to us about the exodus of ICU nurses from Ghana's biggest referral facility. 15 a month is what he's saying. Ladies, I mean, this is quite worrying because, like the doctor said, it takes years for you to train as a first level nurse. Just to be a nurse, you go through years of training. Then you go through years of training to be a specialist in ICU nurse. And on the job, if you manage to get it, you learn so many skills critical to keeping patients alive. And then, after several years, because conditions are not good, because the machines are not there, I know ICU nurses who become, downhearted because they're seeing patients die when something could have been done to save them. And so for their own mental health, sometimes they're forced to step back. So for some of them, it's not even about how poorly they are paid. It's about knowing that something could have been done, but the system is just not structured that way. I'll start with you, Martiti. This is across the country. It's not just at Korle Bu. Across the country, and across the different health, systems and auxiliary services, we're seeing this happening still.
It's quite unfortunate. ICU, critical nurses leaving. The mass exodus, I feel like it's just rhetoric now, but I always hear, I'm sure will tell us what government is going to do to nip that in the bud, because we cannot keep losing critical nurses like this. And at a time when we are recording these alarming rates of diseases,
multiple visits from non-communicable
diseases related to our urban lifestyle now, because once you're working, the working time frame, 8 hours at work, how you eat, lifestyle issues is becoming more and more. I saw the report on one of GBC's programs that you voiced on child obesity. There are more obese children now in the world.
Because everybody's buried behind their phones, going like this.
Than 10 children.
Than going outside to play pillow or going to the neighbor's house to climb the tree.
Yes.
I mean, you break your leg, but we get it. You get some exercise in there. But we're seeing this happening more and more.
Junk
often.
And then just either junk and technology. It's like a serious addiction, junk and technology. And parents, the time they wake up, the time they drive their kids to school.
And not getting enough sleep.
Not enough sleep, the time they pick them up. And all of the Ghanaian foods that we think are an adult's task to fix, but that are healthy, that would give you the balanced diet over just stopping on the road and buying the quick fix, fast foods. It's very problematic. So our healthcare system should have been able to augment for this, but
it's the cure.
Yes,
that's where we go to cure the ills that sometimes we've imposed
there's a pressure coming from all over. So the fear may even kill you before your time. Looking at the fact that you have an emergency and you go to the ICU and they are struggling because bring this, it's not working. Bring that, it's not okay. Go to this ward and bring what they or borrow from them. All of that. We know how long paperwork sometimes even is when you don't have a health insurance or it's expired.
If you don't know somebody, and if all your documentation is in place, I'll pick your thoughts on this. Even if you have all the required number of papers, sometimes somebody has to go and find that bed for you, because recently one of my boys had to be taken to hospital and we had to conjure a bed from wherever it was to appear at that
should we start going to the hospital with mattresses?
Because they were going through, the department was going through, shortage at the time. And this was an emergency situation. The patient needed to be put on a bed. So even when all your papers are in place, it's just inadequate infrastructure continues to be a burden. And now the nurses appear to be saying, listen, some people love the work, some people want to do it, but they are just tired. Sometimes, doctor talked about health insurance and the things that it covers. They are not available. there are things that medical health insurance should cover. Medical stores doesn't have them. The hospitals, pharmacy doesn't have it. It should be given to you for free, but it's not there. A friend of mine will say, there is not there. The worrying thing for me is when Doc says, we've managed to overcome fighting infectious diseases. But now, because people are living longer, they are less likely to die from these infections. Now we have, a burden of non-communicable disease. What are your thoughts on all this? What's the government's plan? The Ghana Medical Trust Fund, known popularly as Mahama Cares, the administrator was at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and it was during the visit and her interactions with the staff that this matter of the complications from non-communicable diseases came up. So it appears that was a fact-finding mission, but where's the end line from this?
Maybe I think it will be the health professionals who can tell us the end line. Because sitting here, we are not in that field and we wouldn't even understand it better than being there.
But we
they have seen it. No. Maybe our families.
Our loved ones fall sick.
It might not be that way.
We are at the receiving end of sometimes the nurse's frustration.
No, I'm even speaking about you said the end line or something. For everyday life, we see some of these things. I think I happened to go to the kidney session. I wanted to take some. I took some. I normally go in for a yearly routine. So I had to take one of the scans, the CT scan for reading. Okay. That's how they call it. And I saw a boy. That boy should be around 15 years. I wept. Because I felt that these things were supposed to be for the aged older and all people. That. Yeah, older people. And so I started asking questions. And the doctor was uncomfortable somehow. He thought I was a journalist or something. But I just wanted to know. For me growing up, malaria, those were the things we know as AIDS fever, those chloroquine things, they heal it and we are gone and we start running. Asthma, those small things. But to see diabetes, hypertension, liver.
We are having
a cousin son.
Younger people suffering strokes. Yes. Younger people suffering strokes.
Yes, and Africa, sometimes we go into the spiritual aspects, but that's not what we are talking about. We want to look at our lifestyles. What we want to give our kids now. Now you do that, boom, and every child is like this. They smell the money and they are asking questions. They see kako and they are like, what is this? My house, you eat. What I give. I always train myself. I trained myself that way, so I train you too, growing up in my house. I don't care whether you are my child or not. If I'm giving it to my children, then you should also have it. Because my idea is you go out there, you don't know where you find yourself. So how do you survive? So you have to make sure that you survive around everything natural that you meet along the way. So when I go to the village, I want to take the corns. I hardly take corns in Accra because they are not fresh. The coconut, I want it. So it's like every other thing that is fresh, we want it. And that is how we should be building our lives. Like Motiti said, we work out the kids, and sometimes you get out, especially when I come to GTV, you have to leave the house early. You see some of these school kids who are being dropped that early. I'm like, what is it?
You have to go to work. The parents have to go to work.
Yes.
And sometimes there's nobody at home.
And so those things are affecting our children.
They have to be taken to
school. They are not growing up properly. And so we give them all the junk food. We give them the money. And so they get everything they are buying, they are eating any other thing. I remember growing up, we were in the preparatory school, but we leave the house around 7:30. And we even, I went to school around Radio Gold from Abosokai. And my grandmother will make sure you eat proper in the house. You don't take money to school.
See, your grandmother.
Yes. And that's what
somebody was grannies.
Yes, we should try and get. Some of us don't want our families in the house. I understand. But you can also look. When I became a grandmother, my mother has come back to my house because I had to bring my daughter and my grandson to the house because I won't be there. She has to take care of them. My big sister has also joined because I need people. We are Africans, and those are the things we used to do. You have to create it, whether you don't have it.
Renting a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom.
You should find a way out.
Mother.
Me, when I started having children, my mother is a business person, so she wouldn't come to stay, but she was always making sure she's there to take care of me and the baby before she leaves at night. And so there is always a way out. We can't be giving, because I don't want this thing happen to this person, I don't want it to happen. For life, things will happen, whether you you want it or not. There are things we don't call for. They will happen. Don't people wake up, they leave the house and they don't come back? Did they ask for that? So some of these things we have to cultivate. We are Africans first. And this family thing made us, now you have people, I was listening to Demi Moore and the husband, what's the name? The actor, who is now doesn't even remember anything. And they have to carry this man who loved his family so much to an
so health is important.
So and some of these things, look, the people around us even also makes it possible.
Okay.
Our neighbors, we know a whole lot of things are happening, but we still have to trust somebody. Tell me, sitting here, if you don't trust me, I can't be here. Yep. Because if I'm going on air and I know you'll be hostile to me, I wouldn't want to be here. I tell your producers, so I don't want to tell man, so I can't come. So some of these things, let's build it. And so from there, the hospitals, of course, they have frustrations.
Well, when you hear the sound, it means they want us.
So for them, you give all the time to dog. And so it's like I came in and never said anything. So please, let me also talk to the hospitals. We know the frustration. Me, I have a lot of medical people in my house, and sometimes they come in, they are so worried, and the way they get frustrated, I understand it. But what is the hospital also doing to keep these people? Because the president can't be everywhere. That's why he has ministers. The ministers can't be everywhere. That's why we have directors, and we have leaders in the hospital.
Okay.
What are you also doing to keep Thelma here in GBC? So these things will replicate everywhere. You find yourself as a leader. So if every time they want to throw their hands in despair and want to call for, please, there are things we can also do to keep people
like what you're saying. So
it's true. So we are begging them. So we know things are difficult. So let's all try to help the system.
Health and education have been the biggest topics on the table this morning. And I've received a message. I just want to read that quickly because I think it's important to put some, light on it. This is from Reverend Kofi Sabote, Methodist Church, Ghana, on the school placement issue. He says that we need to step back and remind ourselves what brought us to this exercise. It was perceived that heads of institutions were taking bribes to place candidates to the advantage of others. So a central placement system was needed. Later, the exercise was justified to say it will give everyone opportunity to be in a better endowed school. We now know that the central placement system is being operated now is wrought with some corrupt practices. Parents having to pay some monies to ensure their wards get their schools of choice. We need to interrogate the whole process, make it more transparent, and ensure fairness and equity, as it was claimed the exercise was meant to achieve. A parent just called us to say her daughter obtained aggregate 07 and has not been placed in their first choice school. Name of school withheld. This is from Reverend Kofi Sabote, the message that he sent to me. So the matter about the school placement, we'll find another time, another opportunity to have a more in-depth conversation. Perhaps we'll be able to reach Mr. John Kapi, who is the Deputy Director of Public Affairs of WAEC, and also the Ghana Education Service, to share more on this with us. So thank you, Awoke Kelly, for adding your voice
for having me.
To this conversation. Martiti for hopping on the train. I should say that we did extend an invitation to the NPP to be a part of this conversation. They did not get back to us, and so we were not able to have someone representing the NPP on the panel today. We usually would have another voice at the table, and so I've had to do this with Martiti and Awoke Kelly alone for the day. We'll take a quick break. When we return, the breakfast show continues. It's Friday. Let's begin to bring it all down a bit. We'll be back.
Natural mosquito repellent, highly recommended by Ministry of Health, CHAS and GES, lab tested by Noguchi Medical, field trialed by Atomic Energy Commission. It has no chemical or side effects and is good for all ages and skin type. MedShea is available nationwide. Contact us on 0244892413. This advert is approved by FDA.
Another year dawns, another season begins, a season of shaping, of polishing, and of becoming.